testa här. Om man söker upp YouTube så går man in på the world's best YouTube channel.
I think it's very interesting.
It works.
To do this,
it works.
And
this guy, he's fucking awesome.
Sure I've
liked all of his videos. Very good.
What's
up, guys, and welcome back to a new video here at Bat Universe. I don't know what's going on with the camera. It feels like it's very zoomed in today, or is it? No, maybe not. Anyways, in today's video, we're going to make a small interview with a guy named Lars in Linköpings Universitet, who is an expert in comic books. He's been doing studies and research. I think those are the two correct words you use for how you can use comic books as a way to make people study, or how you can use it during educational purpose. So we're going to speak with Lars today, and he's also a huge Batman fan, so we will actually use this interview as a way to start off a new series we're going to do on the channel, where we are going to interview people and celebrities and other people, celebrities most, but also a huge amount of different persons, and see what their view on Batman is. You know, like favorite Batman, favorite comic, what Batman is to them, what Batman will look in the future. You know, all of these questions we're going to ask a huge amount of different people, and I think it will be very funny. Anyways, if you're new to the channel, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, or dislike. Just give some feedback, why not? And well, let's go. Hi Lars, how you doing?
Hi David, I'm good. How are you?
I'm just fine. So who are you, Lars?
So I'm a teacher, essentially. I'm a trained teacher of high school or upper secondary school, or whatever you want to call it, in whatever language. I teach religion, philosophy, and English, and then I decided that I wanted to do research. I wanted to find out how you can use comics in schools. So I did a PhD, which is essentially a 5-year postgraduate education, where you do learn to become a researcher. So I did that for 5 years, and I looked at how kids in elementary school and how kids in secondary school can use comics to learn basically about storytelling and story structure, and how to read and write using comics.
Perfect. Sounds very interesting.
It is. It's fascinating. I was a bit surprised when I started, because I kind of figured that there would be more work done on comics. You know, comics have been around for at least 100 years, and kind of more, depending on your definition of comics. But I was surprised to see that there wasn't much done in terms of education.
Yeah.
So you have research on how to use comics in education from the 30s in the US. I'm sadly ignorant when it comes to manga or bande dessinée or La Fumette in Italy, for instance. But when it comes to American Anglo comics, it's you know, research has been done since the 30s, but there's been very little done on it. And especially what I wanted to do was I wanted to go into the classroom and see what is it that's happening when we're using comics. Not only, you know, research like, do kids like comics?
Yeah.
Because they do, and we know that. So that's not new. But I wanted to look at, when we use comics in the classroom, what actually happens? What is it that we do? And there's a lot of exciting stuff going on.
So kind of like to see what works better, what works worse with comic books in the classroom, kind of?
Not really comparing in that sense, because in order to do that, you would need to do a very large study. And, you know, as you know, there are comics and then there are other comics, and kind of no comics are the same. There's such a big variety, so it's very difficult to compare them. And we know so little about this that I just wanted to know, first of all, are there teachers working with comics in schools? And if they are working with comics in schools, what is it that they're doing? So the first thing that I kind of looked at was how to use comics in language classes, which is, I think, one of the more common things to do. So what the students and the teachers were doing when I got there, because this wasn't an experiment. This was something that I was asking, do you use comics? If yes, can I come out and look at what you're doing?
Yeah.
So what they did was that they used comics a lot in language when it comes to telling a story. So how do you tell a story in a good way? Well, you have a beginning, a middle, and an end.
Yeah. And
that's your basic comic structure. That's the basic comic strip, first, second, and third panel, basically. So they were using that, and then they were using all different kinds of other comic tools, like, speech bubbles and sound effects and things like that, to kind of talk about how do you tell a story using these tools, which I thought was really cool. And one of the things that we kind of found out when I was doing this was that you need to learn how to read comics. It's not something that you just pick up. It's something that you need to learn over time. And not all kids know how to read comics. Some comics are super complicated and very complex, and story structure and everything is really difficult to understand. So you need to start simple, if you will, and then kind of grow into comics in a sense. So essentially, part of this was to show that comics are a lot more complex than you think. It's not automatically easy reading. That a lot of people assume that comics are. Mostly people that don't read comics themselves. So that's, I think, one of the more interesting results, is to show that within education you can use comics to do a lot of different things, but you can't assume that comics are going to be easy reading for all students.
That sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should we move to the next question, or do you have something more to add?
No, I'm sure people are bored by that by now. So
I don't think so. It sounds very interesting. I like that a lot. Okay, so at what age did you first get an interest in comic books?
Okay, so I started reading comics very early. I read Swedish comics that most of your viewers probably won't know about. Pelefant Bam's classic Swedish comics, if you will.
Yeah.
And then, I moved into Donald Duck and the Disney comics that I think a lot of people do as well when you're kids. And then I kind of gradually moved into my brother-in-law at the time gave me, as a birthday present when I was 11 or something, he gave me these 5 moving boxes of his old comics, which was, gold mine to any kid at that age, to just get these piles of comics to wade through. I remember I spread them out on the floor of my room, and I was just going through them for days, lying on the floor, just reading different comics. And that had a lot of different things in it. And that's kind of when I grew into X-Men comics and DC comics as well, like Batman, for instance. And then it kind of grew from there, and I discovered graphic novels fairly late. I discovered graphic novels when I was in my 20s, I think, or something. But yeah, that's kind of where it started with the kids comics.
Yeah. Okay. So, well, this might be an easy one to answer, but what kind of influence have comic books had in your life?
Yeah, kind of a major influence, actually. I mean, I guess my teaching career was heading in one direction, and I kind of just one day decided that, well, I want to go into research, and since I love comics and like to work with them, I want to do something with that. So yeah, that's it's been kind of a defining thing about my career.
Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
Okay. So if we're moving on to do a little bit more of a Batman questions, since we're built on Batman more or less.
Yeah, there's a certain theme. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, how old were you when you first discovered Batman?
Wow, how old was I? I was probably around 10. I think the first Batman movie that I saw in the theater was probably Batman Forever. I can't remember when that came out now. I'm sorry to all the diehard fans, but I think that was the first theater Batman that I saw. And I mean, I discovered. Oh, sorry, I'm going to start over. I just realized. I first discovered Batman when I was about 6 or 7, because my dad was a huge fan of the 1960s Batman TV show.
Oh yeah.
And that was, I'm not that old, but that was on reruns on television when I was a kid. And I remember my dad used to like dance to the theme song, and he was so awkward and embarrassing. Even as a 6-year-old, that was awkward and embarrassing. But at the same time, his love for that TV show was so inspiring. And the character, it's a lovely, goofy TV show, but it just kind of established Batman as a character in my psyche,
Yeah. Okay, so pretty early.
Pretty early, yes.
So, I don't know if Batman is one of your favorite comic book characters, but if we have to go from there, then what is it that you find so interesting with the character of Batman?
I think what fascinates me about Batman as a character is the realism and how the character is very grounded in reality. I mean, not all iterations of the character takes that position or does that in the same way, but I think that's what kind of drew me to the character. Essentially, what I think it is that Batman kind of connects with you in a way that, in the same sense that you think you can do this yourself. It's semi-realistic in the way that I could probably, if I just spent enough time and effort, I could probably, be Batman.
Yeah.
In the same way that you think, like I could probably start going to the gym. And yeah, sure, you could. You're not going to, but in theory, of course. I think Batman strikes a tone in many people in the same way that it's realistic enough for you to have the idea that you could. Whereas a character as Superman or Wonder Woman or that's never going to happen. But Batman in theory could be you.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. Okay. So what is your favorite Batman movie, comic, or actor?
Oh, movie, comic, and actor. That is a great question. I think Batman Forever is my favorite Batman movie. It is not the best Batman movie, but it is definitely my favorite Batman movie. And I think it's because that was the first one I saw in theaters when I was, I don't know, 10, 11 or something. And it really, like, I was really the key demographic for that movie, I think. So it really like hit home with me. So there's a great level of nostalgia around that movie. And I think it brings out a lovely kind of camp Batman mixed with some seriousness as well, which I think is kind of great. What was the other one? Favorite
comic and actor.
Comic and actor. Yeah. Okay. Wow, that's actor. I think is most difficult. I think Kevin Conroy is probably my favorite Batman actor. He just personifies so much. I mean, again, he's a fantastic voice actor, obviously, but I think just the way that his voice emulates the character in such a great way. And I mean, he's also, he's been Batman in so many different contexts, so that he's become the iconic Batman actor, I think. When it comes to comic, it's very hard to choose. War Games is a series that I've kind of was one of the first graphic novel Batman series that I bought and read, so that kind of works very well for me. Also in the way that it shows off Batman the detective and Batman the strategist, which I think is a lot of fun. And also it showcases a lot of the characters and the different villains and everything. So I think that's probably my favorite, I think.
Great choices. Okay, what we got next? So how do you see Batman transforming into the future? I'm sorry for that.
Oh, it's not me. Yeah, I think the what I think is great about where we are at present is the way that media at large is opening up, and the way that these characters from both major publishing houses are kind of being utilized in movies and TV and also in comics. And I think what we're gonna see with Batman, the comics have kind of, he's had over 80 years in the comics and they've kind of done it all, I think. But I think what we're gonna see more is to see how TV and films kind of develop. I mean, we've already seen, the way that DCU is moving forward, and we've seen the Arrowverse TV shows and kind of what they can do. And I think we're going to see more of that. I think we're going to see more intermediality, characters moving between different media and crossing different media. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how that develops. I really like where they went with Gotham, for instance, as a TV series.
Yeah.
I quite like how they treated the characters there and how they kind of did their own thing very clearly. And the different TV shows I think do exciting things. So I think that's interesting to see. When it comes to comics, I honestly can't speculate because it could go anywhere.
Yeah.
I'm just happy to see wherever it goes.
Yeah, and it feels like a pretty good. Oh, how do you say it? Like, well, not really theory, but a good speculation, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I mean it's a bit of it's kind of a theory, but I'm also kind of hopeful for that to happen. Because I quite like. I mean, the comics have for a very long time built on the fact that you, as a comic book fan, are familiar with different characters from different media, and then then the comics kind of cross over, and they kind of. You're, as a reader, you're rewarded for your knowledge about different characters in different comics.
Yeah.
Using references and things like that. Yeah. So I'm kind of excited to see the way that Marvel is doing with the Marvel universe, the DCEU as well, and how they're kind of playing off each other, so that it's not just like here's one movie and it contains everything you need to know. That's good if a movie does that, but I also think it's nice that as a viewer, you're also rewarded for having seen other things as well, having seen other movies and other TV shows, and that they kind of connect. I think that's it's a fun thing, and it seems to be profitable for the companies. So I'm assuming they're going to keep doing that, which to me is very exciting. I mean, I know some people are disappointed that they do that, or they feel that the quality becomes lacking because they have to interconnect. Yeah. And in some instances, I agree with that. We have seen cases where that has happened, where they do crossovers for the sake of doing crossovers.
Oh yeah.
But I also think, depending on the writer and the directors and everything, I think you can see very successful ways of doing that I think is kind of fun. So yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It feels like, I agree. It feels like you kind of get, like you said, rewarded for like reading, which I think is, well, very good. It feels.
Yeah. I mean, you can talk about pandering to the fans or fan service or whatever you want. I still quite like the fact that I'm watching a film in the theater. And a character cameo shows up, and I kind of go like, I know who that is.
Yeah.
Like I have this knowledge, and it's actually worth something.
Yeah.
Because there were, when that came about, 10 or Jesus, almost 20 years ago, when that kind of started happening, it was very, very rare. So I think it's just fun to be kind of acknowledged as a fan that this is something that you like, and especially when it's done well, obviously.
Yeah. I totally agree. If you were Batman, what would the first thing you would do?
Wow, that is tricky. Well, I mean, this depends a little bit. It depends on, and this is where my academic comes out to play. Have I been Batman all along, or did I wake up as Batman this morning? Oh well, actually, either way, the answer is the same. I would probably, to the best of my ability, keep doing what Batman is supposed to do. Essentially, fight crime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good answer.
Yeah.
I like that. Okay, so what do you think of the statement that says that Batman isn't a hero?
Oh, yeah, I would say, again, this is taking an academic perspective. That depends a lot on your definition. I mean, yeah, I mean, he's obviously a hero because he performs heroic acts, or acts of heroism. And you could argue that he's not a superhero based on the fact that he doesn't have superpowers. Again, this depends on your definition of superpowers, obviously. Because to me, I would argue that his martial arts prowess, his intellect, his detective skills have kind of reached levels where they are super heroic.
Yeah.
Because I don't think you can. I think it's difficult to say that, oh, Batman isn't a superhero. If you look at the things that he's done, and you know, the people that he runs with, I think you'd have to call him a superhero at this point.
Yeah. Because there's so many things he can and he's learned during like his lifetime that no human possibly could, kind of.
Yeah, again, we're coming back to the thing of, if you're saying like he's just a man,
yeah,
then you're kind of like, that's you going, I could do this, and I would say, no, you couldn't. I'm sorry, but no. I mean, he's reached superhero levels at this point, surely.
The more in depth you go, the stupider it gets, kind of. Or yeah,
pretty much.
Okay, so this was a question my partner really wanted me to ask you, and this is who the best Batman fandom is.
The best Batman fandom?
Yeah, we're going.
I mean, I would have to say that that's Bat Universe.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, so I guess this wraps it up. If you don't have anything more you want to add to any of your statements here, or?
No, I think I've said it all.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah. You came with some very good views and very good points. I like it a lot.
Thank you. I'm glad we agree.
I'm very glad to have had you here, Lasse. It's been very funny.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be able to join you.
Thanks. I don't know how to end these things. I'm very bad at this. So, hi guys, it's me again. I just want to make an outro since I really can't make an outro in front of people because, well, I'm a bit insecure. But I really want to thank Lasse once again for being in the video. I had a really great time listening to you, and I think he came with some very good points, and actually it was for the first time I've ever heard someone prefer Batman Forever to be its like favorite Batman movie. So I thought that was very interesting and very cool to see that, like, because there's so much hate towards that movie, and it was very it really warmed my heart in a way to hear that it's someone's favorite movie and his experience with the movie, and why he felt like he had such a great experience with the movie. So I thought that was very interesting. And I also want to give a shout out to Lasse and his friend's account, which is surrounded by Warhammer, and I think they post a lot of photos there, and I think Lasse mentioned that they wanted to make videos out of it in the future. And this account is called nkpg_n_play. So if you want to see more of Lasse, I would recommend you to follow that account. But that was everything for this video. If you enjoyed this start for this mini series as much as I did, please leave a like so I know that you appreciated it. If you didn't, leave a dislike and comment why you didn't enjoy it. And if you enjoy the rest of our content, I recommend you to subscribe and click on that ugly little bell so you never miss any of our videos in the future. Thanks. My name is David Miranda, and I'm fucking out of here. Good night. I'm tired.